Hi, my name is Kathy Heitch. I'm a student at Georgetown University. This video goes with my class, the EDU 583 Linguistics course with Dr. Brody. I'm here with a teacher of mine that we're collaborating on my student that I use for my project. We're going to call her B so that we don't have to say her name. B is a fourth grade student who has been in the United States since she was 4 years old. Her family was in a refugee camp before they came here in Thailand. So she really hasn't had any schooling before here, which is good because their language is very different from ours. Her access scores, she's improving since 4. She does better with her reading than she does with her oral language or speaking skills. So her reading and writing is a little better, which we both noticed about her. Her proficiency scores and her MAP scores, she is below grade level. She scores novice on a lot of district proficiencies because she does struggle, still with the reading and writing, but she is improving. Her language is the Karen language that they spoke there. It is different than English language in the fact that they have tonals for vowel sounds. They have 25 consonants, 10 vowels, but there's tones. So the letter may have a different tone and it changes. It'd be the same letter, but the tone makes the word a whole different meaning. They also have paired words that are called couplets, where 2 words means 1 word in English. And the 2 words together will have a whole different meaning than if it were just 2 separate words. They're 2 different meanings. So those are the ways that they're a little bit different than us. Their basic syntax is the same as English syntax. Their punctuation is very similar to ours. And the thing with B is that she really didn't study a lot of that. It's mainly speaking that she had before she came here. So she's only been mainly introduced, other than seeing what her parents do, to English writing. So that helps. We've learned in our class that the current acquisition view for learning a new language is to make it comprehensible and easy for the kids to gain meaning so that they can use it for different purposes, not just schooling, but for everything that they will need in life. Errors are natural. They're gonna mess up trying to learn a second language. The focus is mainly for them to gain meaning in it. So before we get started, I wanted to ask you, what kind of issues or situations do you notice with B that are from her being a second language student?
The main thing that I've noticed with B is that she thinks she knows more than she actually does, which has been a problem in the classroom because she likes to put a lot of words down and do a lot of stuff in her academics, but she's faking it right now. Because she does think that she knows more than she actually does, and so that's actually hurting her. And another thing is that she likes to write the way that she speaks. So she reads and writes the way she speaks, so she's having troubles with the TH sound and the F sound because English is her second language, and this is something that she's been struggling with. Another thing is she drops the S when she's reading and writing.
That too.
And so that's been something that I've noticed a lot in her academics and in her work. And then lastly, which is kind of typical, but her spelling and her punctuation, she has errors in that, and she needs some work on that.
Great. These are all things that I noticed just working with her the few times that I've worked with her too.
Yeah.
She's a great student. She's got a great personality, and I've noticed that she wants to please.
Yes.
So, it's difficult to get answers out of her sometimes because she wants to be right and thinks she can do it and wants you to know she can do it. So you have to really watch her close. I noticed the same things. So my recommendations, first of all, are going to be, at the beginning, the things that you already do, which is to build a good classroom community and an environment that's conducive to a second language learner. Which, is going to be to incorporate, anytime that you can incorporate culture and background is good. Now, in this school we have several languages and several students, so it's good and bad. It's sometimes difficult, but if we can find ways for her to bring that in to the classroom in different subjects, that always helps. And then to also build new background knowledge for her, because she doesn't have the same background knowledge that the other students have that are in your class. So you kind of build it, and then you can build from there. One of the things that we've studied about, and we read a book about linguistics written by a gentleman named Freeman, there was a study in there by Schumann called social distance. If language learners, and this is families, not just students, if they isolate themselves from the native language and the native culture, then they tend to not progress like they would if they were immersed in it. So, immersion is always good in the classroom. In her case, her family doesn't speak English, so I'm concerned about how much they're immersed. They're in the Americana community where, it's good and bad. There's a lot of her culture there, so they are isolated. But there's also a community center that she goes to there to learn the English language and culture, and her family goes there. So that is positive. So anytime that we can get them immersed in the native language and hearing the native language and being in our culture, the more they learn. And you've probably observed this in your classroom with all the ESL students that you have. As far as linguistics goes, with her struggling, she does very well. I think, listening to her. After seeing her scores, I was surprised at how well she sounded, because she is lower in the oral and the speaking than she is in the reading and writing.
Right.
Which goes along with her culture, even though she didn't start school till she came here. Schools in their country focus on reading and writing, and not so much, like, they may not use any kind of oral presentation in class. So I don't know if that's something that she's incorporated from her culture, or if it's just coincidence that has happened with her. But I have a few recommendations for you to work with her. We have a lot of resources here because we have a great ESL department. So I'm going to have some suggestions of things you can do just when you work with her, and then some things you can do when you work with your whole class.
Okay.
I did bring you to charts of her language, and it will just really show you that the language is written very different than ours.
Yeah.
So it does make a difference if she's reading it at home, what she's doing here. The numerals are different. And I also brought you a list of the tonal sounds that they make. This is not, necessarily for you to use with her. It's just for your knowledge if you want to look over it.
Thank you.
For her, some of the things you can do, and this is what the two of us did when we worked together, was I went to the ESL department and got what are called chant charts, and it's just to practice the oral speaking. And she loves these. Like, she wants to do this right away. She comes and asks me if she can do this.
Okay.
And you just read it. You can model it for her. You can read it together, then have her read it alone, just as practice. And then her hearing you speak it will help her to understand how she's supposed to speak it.
Okay.
And then, so, and there's several of them. There are a lot of books here that I've gone through that I plan on showing more in our PLC. That some of them are connected to our content, which is good, because unfortunately, with her being a fourth grade student, lights went out. Unfortunately, with her being a fourth grade student, she not only has the burden of learning a new language, but she's got to learn fourth grade standards for testing, and that's so unfortunate that they have that burden. So you can take some of the resources incorporated into class, and it's really good for differentiation, not just with our ESL students, but for all our students that may need it.
Yeah.
They also have charts that help with some of the things we do. I just grabbed one for letter writing. It gives a visual, and she can break it down. Anytime that you can use, and I know that you do use this with your class, visuals to help students before they do any kind of writing piece. They may draw pictures. Now, some of them want to go crazy with the drawing, but you may want to let them draw and then let them write what they're drawing first, and then work it through a working progress where they start with brainstorming, then maybe they draw a picture, then maybe she writes some more, and then you work it to a writing piece. There are two types of learning that we have studied about, and one is like a traditional learning view, and that's kind of what I was brought up with in school, where you sit and it's very direct teaching, with phonics and vocabulary and all of that. And I do believe that it has a place in learning, especially with vocabulary, with beat. But I think for her, I like the social linguistic view. It is more about focusing on the learning and the meaning, and then you work through the process, and you kind of do a address any errors you might have with punctuation and grammar later in the lesson. You start out just with the process of writing and getting ideas down and letting them think through the meaning before you move on. Now with vocabulary, I do believe that traditional is good. I think the front loading is good. Are you aware of the term front loading? Yeah. We do that a lot. So with vocabulary, and our ESL teachers are great with this too. So we can do this when we collaborate with our ESL teachers. I'm sure they will help us with front loading. Vocabulary before, we have a lot of vocabulary, not just in reading, but we have science and social studies.
Yes.
So if we can front load that, maybe even some topics ahead of time, then that makes it a little easier for her when it, to jump into fourth grade content when we get there. I do agree with the natural approach to learning, which falls along with that same view where you do focus on meaning. You just kind of go through, it's a step-by-step process, but it's just more natural how it happens. Communication is going to be huge with her since she has such trouble with the oral speaking and oral language. That the more that she communicates, the better. In your classroom, if you are having class discussions, have her talk. We do a lot of groups in our grade level, so that is good when you do your science groups, when you're doing your reading groups, and when you do social studies projects, because I know you do all of those things. Her being in the group project, both socially and academically, she is hearing academic language and social language, and the listening to that helps her to acquire all of those skills. So anytime that you do that, and you already do, which is such a good thing, that is beneficial to her also. And then, just in social studies and science, the more activities that you can do that differentiate for her, the better. And, a lot of these things you're already doing, when you can incorporate computer and group activities and projects where they can draw posters and use all the skills that she has to show what she knows, because they, when you take some of these tests that we're forced to give them, it doesn't always show what they know. And they need to show what they've learned. So if you can do that in multiple ways, and then formatively assess to see what she knows, that would be awesome for her. So
yeah, that's very helpful. I've seen these, but I think this is something, these chant charts will really help her. So I think that I definitely want to start implementing this as soon as I can, since, obviously you said she's developed a strong relationship with these already, so I think that's something that I can carry out along with all these other great things that you were helping me with.
Okay. And we're very fortunate because we have a team that works really well together with ESL, ECE, and our fourth grade teachers. So, the more that we all learn, we can share, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to all our learners, including our ESL learners.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.